I'm going to do a little section on my past. Daniel asked a summation. It's always challenging, or has been challenging for me to write about my past. It's a very good story. I'm happy to just talk it. But I spent 25 years in Mount Shasta, California, Northern California, which Mount Shasta is a very special sacred center, interdimensional portal. And I studied under two teachers, two women teachers, one Sister Thedra, which is the Brotherhood of Sananda, Sanat Kumara, and Pearl Dora's the I Am teachings from Saint Germain. And these original, from Pearl, the Ascended Master teachings, and Sister Thedra, the radiance of Sananda, the Lord God, the Christ energy, became activation principles in my soul's resonance, where I was able to enter the unified field of this energetic presence. Sometimes I'd sit 2 or 3 hours in meditation reading the scripts of sisters, or we would attend meditations and Pearl would dialogue on the Master's presences, and we would sit in meditation and the Masters would come and go in a higher energetic frequency. So I had the great privilege of learning from the best of the West, so to speak, because Mount Shasta was very much a pivot point for the Western mystery tradition. And it was at age 28 I discovered the tryst of the alchemy through Jakob Beum's work of the Aurora, and knew it to be my soul resonance to bring the teachings forward from Jakob in a new template, even then, of light and sound and language. Little did I know the discovery of what it would take. But the 3 emblems that hold that original tryst are the Emerald Cross, which is the Sacred Order of Late Titicaca, which is Sananda, Sanat Kumara, the teachings of Sister. The Order of the Emerald Cross, this is when the emerald diadem came about, which eventually was translated into stained glass. The amethyst became the violet ray teachings of Saint Germain and the Ascended Masters. And the rose became my covenant, the rose of the Aurora, and my covenant to the alchemical templates, which I started designing in original watercolor codes in retreat up at what I call Grail Hill. So I have a long heritage with this work from the beginning, and I was writing it in codes. And then when I started doing the divine templates in glass, I traced a Grail story around the New Jerusalem mandala from Pisces into Aquarius, telling the story through a lunar cycle at Pyramid Lake into a solar cycle beginning with Merlyn, of a new myth. So this was the backbone, and they're all recorded in glass, this story. And eventually I left Mount Shasta to go to New Mexico to write. I started tapping into very, very deep levels of the collective unconscious, writing for 2 or 3 hours in the mornings in very, very high resonant fields. And the transmissions from the Masters were lengthy and long. I started writing this language of knowledge, which my soul knew as from the inner dialogue. So writing became the real tool of the living gnosis, the retrieval, the language, the symbols and the codes, a dance in light. So once I spent so much time retrieving in an essential library of archetypes through stained glass, I went further into writing and writing and writing until the birth of this cosmology of the rings created a systematization of a new story. And I was being Zen in my application. All the time I was condensing information, simplifying, condensing, refining, simplifying. And this became my meditation practice, an occult meditation, which is, so I thought of my study was through Alice Bailey, treatise on white magic, treatise on cosmic fire, very lengthy exposés of the esoteric brotherhood through Dwal Kul, very complicated and deep, true but complicated beyond most people's capacity to really bring and make practical such an esoteric stream. But I was constantly researching, and I was constantly in these visionary states of oneness. And eventually that catalyzed into the activation of the light body codes at night, when I was learning to go into what I call the central fire. And that became the backbone, a very essential modality of the work. While I was really given to very, very deep states of meditation and could sit for 2 or 3 hours on my zafu, it's kind of the Zen master. In Sedona, I actually officially, which is something I never thought I would do, gave up the sitting practice, and all my work started being done at night in bed, lying down. And to this day, I do the same practice. I lie and work with the sacred fire of the heart, learn the regeneration principles and have the guidance between the levels. And then I get up in the morning and write and retrieve this information from the collective unconscious. So this is just tidbits, but it just gives you a little understanding of the life of a visionary. And I was bent on really knowledge, because like any human, I was suffering the condition of the raw emotions of not only anger, but miscomprehension. So there was that misuse while I was very spiritual, the misuse of energy. And gradually, like I said, through writing probably 200 volumes of sacred literature, especially this last 6 months, the volumes recorded endlessly in now bardic, rhythmic script. I'll publish. But I realized that the potency was in actually the word and the speaking of the cosmology. That in the speaking of it was the revelation of it, because it activated that which could be remembered through other people. So my last couple of years in Mount Shasta, especially living at Castle Lake, was I'd find that these transmissions would happen naturally, one-on-one, especially with the sisterhood, when this altered state, this state of oneness, would transcribe a living story of remembrance. And that became, it then started comprehending the potency of the states that I was naturally living in, and that I could build a correspondence. I never wanted to teach in the old way. I feel these are alchemical transmissions, basically, and one-on-one, when there's an openness in the field, there's a natural thing with the muse and the feminine component of listening, that basically, because I run so much primal original fire, allows the voice in the teachings to be activated. I don't really like endlessly talking about myself, because it's much more kind of a question-answer kind of thing. I'm happy to go into some great stories, some wonderful stories that I have in dialogue, but I'm mainly wanting to translate the cosmology so that I can assist people in aligning with this emerald healing field of the great tree of unity. But my research has been vast, and I've spent most of this life dedicating myself to that. It shows you a little bit of the astute endeavor of the creative will which is very much my first and seventh ray, creative will, working under Moria, first ray. How that creative will, and through intention and action and building constantly builds the field. And then of course the ability to listen, to let go, and to surrender, and be in that lucid state. My life has been built on it, and now I'm building a new foundation by releasing the cosmology of my soul with my friends out there, so that I'm not alone, and will form the tryst of a new round table of light to my pure delight.